he's got to get to a place where, one, he wants to get help, two, he believes that he needs help, and three, and probably most importantly, he believes that the help he's going to get is actually going to help. My resistance, for example, was I tried getting help and it sucked. And it was like, I'm not going to keep doing this nonsense. I'm out. Like, no, I'm not seeing any more therapists. Like, I saw a therapist when I was much younger because the church that I did ministry in actually required you to go through a kind of a crash course psych evaluation with therapists and make sure that you weren't an axe murderer or, in a mental state where you were going to hurt people versus help them, which I think is a great policy for a church to have, by the way, before it sends ministers on the street. See if your ministers are insane. Um, and so I got a lot out of that. And so I wasn't adverse to therapy. It's just the therapy I started trying to get after combat was so like just the bottom line is the therapists were not a good fit. And so I kind of took that as I'm not seeing. And I have friends that have same issues I have. I've spent weeks in bed before because I just can't get out. And and I have friends that go through the same shit and they won't go to a therapist. They have much different reasons because they had horrible experiences. It's like, no, I'm not signing up for that shit again. And so that's how we get. It's like you're either gonna. The thing that most people, I think, one of the characteristics of military people that the world doesn't understand, because if you didn't grow up in that military world, you don't have the unrealistic expectation that a lot of us veterans have of people. And what I mean by that is I grew up in a military family and then I went basically straight into the military after growing up with my parents and going to college. Right? So you get a certain expectation of people because you're in that world, but you got to remember that world is like 1% of the population. So you live in this world that you think is reality. And when you come into the quote unquote real world, you realize it's very different. And the thing that's so different for us, and I'm really only speaking for me, but I'd be surprised if other vets that are listening to this would disagree. And if they do, please voice it so that people know I'm just speaking for myself. But dude, we don't either. You're gonna either keep your word or keep your mouth shut. It's kind of our thing. When somebody says they're gonna do something, you effing do it. You effing do it, or you come up with an explanation for why it can't be done or it's not going to be done, and you make sure that people know with enough time. So one of the things I remember experiencing in consulting, and one of the reasons it was really hard for me when I first started, was I started working with entitled civilians who just are used to, I might call that guy back or not. No, bitch, you said we had a call at 5 o'clock on Wednesday, and I got no email and no notification that said, yo, I got to cancel. You emailed me the day after, like, oh, I hope your day was okay. Sorry, I missed it. Sorry, you missed it, bitch. You should have told me that. Now, granted, if your house is on fire, you had to pick up a kid at school and you couldn't call me, of course, that happens. And you always give people the benefit of the doubt, at least on the first time. But there are people who will do that shit so many times where I just don't even, I'm like, no. I remember one time I told a dude, he was blowing up my phone and then wouldn't answer his phone. And I finally just left him a message and said, here's the deal, man. Uh, yes, I have the skills to help you reach your goals, which is to be the best at what you do in your market. I know how to do it. Remember, I'm the guy that within 5 minutes diagnosed that Google was blocking your website because your web team is idiots. Yeah, I can do that. But here's the deal. I'm not going to chase you around anymore. Either call me back and you set up a time that you're actually going to answer the effing phone, or, I wish you the best. God bless you. I hope you win. I hope you reach your goals without me. But you're going to reach them without me. And oh, no, it ain't like that, brother. I was like, listen, man, keep your word or keep your mouth shut. And so, in my experience with the civilian world, there's a level of bullshit that civilians put up with on a daily basis that's normal to them. It ain't normal to us for you not to keep your effing word. It's just not. And so what I help a lot of veterans with on the business side is preparing them for that shit. It's like, listen, man, and that's why I tend to want to work with vets, because I know I don't have to deal. Like, I know if a vet's going to miss a meeting, he's going to hit me up at the very least 10 minutes before, like, yo, emergency. Like, his house could be on fire. And he'd be like, yo, house is on fire, got to reschedule. Peace. Hit you back when I'm done. Bet. Like that's the expectation you have of one of your brothers and sisters who've been in the fight. Is your house is on fire, you're still going to get in touch with me. Right? I remember the day my dad died, I was getting calls from people I was supposed to be supporting and I had to tell them. I was answering the phone saying, "Hey, I know you're depending on me. Family emergency, can't explain right now, but just please know I'm going to be out of pocket. And here's the name of the person who can help you in my stead." Right? That's the level of commitment that you get from warriors. And when you come into this kind of la la land bullshit world where, your business winning or losing doesn't mean people live or die. You have a much more laissez-faire approach to, oh, I missed that call with that guy. No big deal. I'll get him next. No, bitch. I've moved on. Peace. Right? And so I say all that to kind of give you a perspective of vets are really smart about surviving. And if they think they need help, they'll find help. But when they open themselves up for help and that shit ain't answering the mail, they're moving on. It's like we are experts at finding a way to make shit work that isn't supposed to work. And if it ain't living up to the expectation, I'll just white knuckle that shit, right? And that's the blessing and the curse of having our experience. So I would say there's very little that you can do to make him realize that he needs help, right? Just be there for him. And that's a hard place to be because it makes you feel helpless. And that's not my intent to hurt you, but I want you to know the reality is that there is little you can do to convince him or to push him into it. Um, Now, if he's harming himself, then yeah, you might need to get a little bit more stern and in his face and say, if you don't stop doing these things and find a way to get help, we're going to have some talks about how this is going to work going forward, right? Um, but like I said, it's at the end of the day, no matter what you do, that person's got to get to the point where they understand that they need the help and they have to. And usually it's not that we don't want help. It's just that we're used to, especially if you've been an NCO or an officer, you're used to being the person that has to be strong for everybody else. So it's not easy for you to admit that you're hurting because you're usually holding that shit in so you can help other people, right? But most importantly, I got to know that what I'm going to is going to work. I'm not going to waste money and time bullshitting around with the doctor and his Daisy Dukes who had me sitting on his couch. This actually happened to me. I'm like, you got to be effing kidding me. This dude is in his Daisy goddamn Dukes and I'm up in his house talking about nothing. Like, I'm out. Like, I had to ask him for advice. Like, bro, I've been in here for however many times telling you all this shit. I've shared this with a lot of people. This isn't new for me. Like, at what point did we get to the, hey, here's some things you should be thinking about and doing? And I was out. I was like, bump it. So it's just part of the process. And like right now, I have an amazing doctor, and she just gets it. And she's specialized in a lot of my challenges, and she's seen a lot of people, tons of military and entrepreneurs. So she gets my whole demeanor, and she and I have very similar personalities. So she can talk to me very masculine and very direct and very get your shit together and know. And she does it with love. She's not like berating me, but she can get real. Like in a session, she cut me off. She's like, hold up, stop. This is what needs to happen. And I'm like, I shut up. It was almost like the general was talking, like, yes, ma'am, Roger, Roger, will do, Roger. Okay, got it. Thank you. And I didn't have to say shit else. So part of it is just finding somebody that you can trust that's actually going to help you. And I could share some, I won't because I'm not going to share people's personal stories that aren't mine to share, but I have friends that have been to therapists and it went really poorly. And nobody wants to keep going back to that. So let me give you some solutions though, because I just did a great job of outlining the problem. Love them. Make it clear that you're going to be there for them. Make it clear that you believe that this person needs help and that they may be in denial about a few things. Read the DSM-5, DSM-V for PTSD if you haven't already, so that you can outline the symptoms, because there may be some practical disconnect. It was actually my mother that alerted me to the fact that she thought I had PTSD, because I was in denial too at first. I'm like, dude, my experience wasn't even that serious. What are we talking about? Blah, blah, blah. And then when I started thinking about the shit I saw, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, that was kind of serious. But when I learned the symptoms of PTSD, it was like, oh, yeah, I got all that. That's I got that whole list. That's, woo, that's in there, right? So there's some practical things that you can do, um, but just patience and love is really the main thing. As long as they're not hurting you or themselves. If they're doing that, then there's probably some other measures that you need to take. Let's see. Bastard sibling says lemons or limes. Neither. April Ray's back. LL Cool GT says, "Hey man, love your videos. Thank you, man." Cairo says, "Hey brother, you were born September 13th. Oh, happy birthday. Was it 4 days late? Happy 4 days belated birthday." LL Cool says, "What about fear of achieving?" You know, I hear people say that they talk about the fear of success. I don't know that I fully believe that that's the fear. I think, at least from people that I've seen who are afraid to succeed, the underlying fear is that they're afraid to succeed and then lose it again. Not that they're afraid to win, but that they're afraid that if they win, they're just going to lose it again. So it's kind of like this learned helplessness. Um, so yeah, I don't know if I fully am on board with this. Oh, you're just scared to win. You know, and maybe you're afraid of the pain you know you have to go through to win, but the fear of the win itself, that just, I don't know if that computes to me. April Ray says, bouncing between my two favorite TikTokers. Who's number two? Who's, well, I don't care which one of us is one or two, but who's the other person? I'd like to know. Maybe I should bounce too. Cairo says, it takes us. Let's see, Gate Mage is here. What's up? Good to see you, man. It takes us hitting rock bottom to get. So it takes some people, but remember, everybody's rock bottom is different, right? And for some people, rock bottom is where they choose to get off the elevator. You know what I mean? Like the elevator's still going down. They're like, you know what? I've had enough of hell. I think I'm gonna get off here. Thanks. Right? So, yeah, not everybody has to hit the same rock bottom. Let's put it that way. They have to hit bottom enough to where they're like, okay, let's make some changes. Uh, yeah, now Cairo, that's serious, and that'll definitely wake you up. Becca Adams says, can't help you if you won't help yourself. That's true, but you can love people until they learn to love themselves. Sometimes people have to learn to love themselves by someone else properly loving them. That my wife had a huge hand in my life for that purpose. I'm Kia Lynn says, I'm a vet and I completely understand integrity is a huge thing for sure, 100%. Alice Clark says, hey Alice. Hey, thanks LL Cool. I don't know what that was. It looked like a dragon spitting a rainbow out, but thanks. I appreciate that, man. Amon Bonseal says, I'm not a vet, but I live by my word. I keep my appointments and I don't flake. Yeah, and most good people do. There's just a lot of not great people out there. You know, and so if you're a consultant, you know the game. It's like if you want four new clients, you got to reach out to 100. Well, there's a good chance that only 10% of that 100 are going to be people that you feel like dealing with in terms of how they do business. You know, and it's unfortunate, man. I'm Keelan says, thank you. I really appreciate your perspective. Thank you. Yeah, no, hopefully that's helpful for you. And if you're a vet, you know exactly what I'm saying. You got to get to the point where it's about getting them to the point where they believe whatever help they're signing up for is actually going to help them with something. And I can tell you from experience, if you want to use any of my story, just say, hey, I talked to a dude, same story as you, was in denial for years. I didn't get diagnosed until 15 years later. Um, so it's really, what I can tell you is that when you really start to get healthy, and I've just started kind of scratching the iceberg of finally getting mentally well. Um, and here's the thing too: a lot of us think that we don't have challenges because we're kicking ass at life. Like that was my story. I was killing it. What? I was getting it in. Like, how are you gonna say I got issues? I'm in here kicking ass. I'm helping people. I'm getting messages from folks that say they weren't gonna hurt themselves because they saw a video I did. Like, what, dude? I ain't got no problems. I'm square, right? So that's part of the issue too. But it's we just once we realize, okay, there's something there, we really don't want to get, and I didn't want to give my time, I didn't want to waste time with something that was just going to eat up my time and not make me better. But the benefits of me doing that were, I'm not as adverse to a lot of the pain that I used to suppress. Just emotionally, I would mentally push it down. I'd lift weights real hard and do all these physical things that in some ways were keeping me healthy, but in some ways were me running from the problem. I'd get really obsessive about my work and I'd overwork, and then that became an escape for me instead of dealing with the pain. And on the flip side of that, it's like right now, circumstantially, me and my family have some pretty significant challenges, not the least of which is me continuing to see my doctor all the time so that I can stay healthy. Um, but I've never been happier. Like I remember saying to my doctor, like halfway through my other program that she had me in with her. Now I just see her one on one only, but I remember about halfway through saying, "Yo, I'm gonna be real with you guys. Uh, I just felt happiness, and the last time I remember feeling this happy, I was 9 years old." So let that sink in for a hot second. The last time I remember feeling this much pure, just innocent joy, I was 9. So this must be working. And it terrifies me that the last time I have a memory, it doesn't mean I didn't have other joys. The last time I remember having a memory like this was playing outside at 9 years old in Germany. So clearly, uh, my experiences in combat caused me to just shadow over so much of my life experience to include the time after combat. So just let them know on the other side is actual happiness and not having anger all the time and not resenting all the shit that was done to us and dumbass, I can't say the P word, uh, uh, let's call them loliticians because TikTok keeps warning me, um, who got us into these fights. And it's just like, all right, cool. You don't have to feel the brunt of that. I think I found Optimus Prime's head. I did. Hell yeah. I've been slowly breaking this Optimus Prime toy just to see how durable it is. He's hanging in there pretty good. My son broke his leg off though because he's a tyrant. April says, had a shrink say wasn't their job to give advice. Okay, but okay. Ah, most people won't execute even if you tell them a solution. Well, some people need more to just, and this is one of the problems I see. I have a TikTok video coming out about this tomorrow about beware the internet millionaire. And most people, they need more than just to be, so I look at it this way. If you've never done anything before, even if someone tells you how to do it, it's not as powerful as showing you. Like the step by step, here's how we make this happen. Like with my kids, I wanted them to start doing their own laundry. I'm like, dude, you guys are old enough to do your own laundry. Me and your mom don't need to do this anymore. Let's go. And I was having this expectation that, they've seen us and been around us doing laundry, but until I took them and did like 6 loads of laundry with them standing with me and showing them step by step by step. So it's part of the problem is people just telling them something that they have no experience doing. They're not just going to pick it up and do it. They need to be shown. And that's a lot of what I'm trying to do in my internet time is giving you guys like we can talk about the philosophical and the conceptual solutions to problems. It's like I want to give you guys practical things that you can go out, kind of like my 69 Pillars of Success course. Each one of those videos has a thing that you can implement that day. It's a 70-day course because it's technically 70 videos because I made an extra credit video about Arnold Schwarzenegger that became number 70. But These are things that you can learn and apply every day for 70 days and then watch your life get practically better. And then what I tell people, as soon as you finish the course, go back and do it again. It's a course that you should do because, the videos at most will take up an hour of your day. At least I think the shortest video is like 8 minutes or 12 minutes. And it's just go back through it and just keep, like, I need to go back and watch it. And I made the stupid ass program. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where the more you go through it, the more you learn how to apply it. And a lot of getting good at something is repetition. And so when people perceive that the execution of the solution is something harder than they can bear, that's why people don't get in shape, because they think, oh, I need to lose 100 pounds. And that lose 100 pounds is such a monumental boulder on their chest that it's just like, screw it, man. I'm just going to eat Cinnabons and lay down because it hurts. And instead, what they need to be taught and shown is, okay, we're going to lose 100 pounds, but we're going to do it in a year. We're not going to do this in 4 months. It's every day, showing up, doing something, eating right, getting enough sleep every day. And then inevitably they're going to make a mistake. And it's like one of the ladies I used to train. She came in and she was really upset. She's like, I don't want to talk to you. I was like, what? She's like, I asked you to hold me accountable and I don't want to tell you what I did this weekend. I said, what could you have possibly done this weekend? She's like, well, I ate whatever and I went out drinking with my girlfriends. I said, okay. How many times did you do that this weekend? She says, once. I said, so there's 7 days in a week. She said, yeah. And so you screwed up one day. She said, yes. I said, but you won and did the right thing for 6 days. And she was like, I never really thought about it like that. I said, so all I'm asking you to do is win more than you lose. You're going to have L's in this game. But as long as you win 6 days and lose one day, as long as the loss isn't some catastrophic, you ate 19 Cinnabons and drank 14 bottles of wine, you're probably going to be okay. You know, next week, try to not lose at all. And then the next week, and then the next week. But when you lose, you can't get so focused. It's like what they teach quarterbacks in football, man, is to have amnesia. You throw an interception, get it out of your mind, focus on the next play. And, any sports like that. What I used to tell my kids in basketball when I was coaching was if they miss a shot, actually my head coach, I was the assistant coach, and the head coach, when one of our kids would miss a shot that looked like it would go in, he would yell out, unlucky, unlucky. And what he was trying to communicate to them is genius. I loved it. He's trying to say, you did everything you were supposed to do to make that ball go through the hoop, homie. It just didn't work. So do it again, because next time you won't get unlucky. And I was like, that is effing genius, like on a coach level. That's a genius thing to do, is tell him, oh, I was unlucky. I was unlucky. Keep moving forward. And so that's the thing. A lot of people have to be shown, and then they need someone to help them break the problem down. Like one of the things I say in the Internet Guru video is, you'll have these condescending people, and they're not wrong. They'll be like, oh, you're broke because you don't understand money. That doesn't help anybody. Or they'll tell you some, very generic platitude about money and how it works in the American economic system. And everything they're saying is true. They're not lying to anybody, but it's not helping. It's not like getting down in the trenches with that person and saying, listen, here are the things you need to do. Right here is how we start at ground zero before we start worrying about teaching complicated concepts like how to evaluate a company's worth and EBITDA. And the American economic system is actually running on debt, not on money. And those are hard concepts to just throw at somebody and say, okay, now you're educated in the language of money, go make a ton. And it doesn't take into account the person's personality and disposition or temperament, that there's certain things, like not everybody is wired to be in sales, like to be in sales. Everyone needs to learn sales skills, but there's certain levels of salesmanship that some people cannot get to because it goes against their very altruistic nature that they may have. Or maybe they're really high in honesty, they're really high in agreeableness, and they're really high in altruism. That's going to be hard to force that person into a hardcore sales job, right? Where they're going to have to do things at times that are going to feel like compromising, just to make a sale. But some people are capable of doing that better than others. iFlames, what's up, man? Pocket Thought says, "Hey, sitting on the night shift, watching you. Bless you, Pocket Thoughts. Good to see you." Becca Adams says, "My therapist said something that just disappeared because TikTok." Becca Adams says, "My therapist said if they needed a therapist, they'd come to me like, come to you like what?" Let's see, it just cut off Becca's comment. Becca, I didn't see the end of your comment. Can you type it again? Joker 10177 says, "Brian Chambers speaks. Nice to see you. Some of my family thinks PTSD doesn't exist." Okay, that's okay. They don't have to. There's some pretty good documented evidence of it. Do they also think the Earth is flat and the moon landing didn't happen, and that the government's actually being run by reptilian, alien, lizard things? Let's see. Tada Beats. Just saw your stuff on foods that suck. That's a true statement. Yeah. So it's funny that foods that suck thing was actually a joke. I was trying to be kind of funny. It just didn't come across that way. That video got me in a lot of trouble with a handful of folks who were very angry about the things I said, but none of them seemed to take into account my audience and the type of people that I am talking to. It's like, because people are arguing, like all these foods you're yelling at people about, they are allowed to eat. I said, I never said they weren't allowed to eat it. I'm just, why would you eat it? Well, they can have fun, yes. And people who value fun that much are not the people who are following me. Like, we are hardcore, freaking maniac warriors, man. We're like, it's like a team of Spartans. Like, do you think Spartans are going to be sitting around eating Pop Tarts and shit? No. Like, look at my shirt, for God's sake, in the video. And it was all in good fun, man. I didn't. It's, it garnered some hate, but what popular video doesn't garner somebody that's upset about it? You know. Let's see. Broken Super says, I can tell you that's not it for me. I actually am afraid to win. It's more about losing myself. Huh, I don't know if I understand that fully. That's an interesting statement. I can tell you that that's not it for me. You are afraid to win. So explain to me what you mean by losing yourself. You have to lose yourself to win? Hirsch says, off topic, but only popping in for a minute. Just finished a book you recommended. Loved it. Which book was it, Hirsch? Seven Principles That Make Marriage Work. Excellent, bruh. That's a great book, man. I wish everybody would read it. Yeah, my pleasure to recommend it, man. I'm glad you read it. I'm glad it helped you. Glad you dug it. April Ray says, makeup by Maritza. She reminds me of my daughter. Okay. That's it's a very random statement, but we'll go with it. I have PTSD and no one who understands it. Well, we understand it, so you don't have no one. We're here with you, man. Aloha from Hawaii, brother. Good to see you. Tada B says, about to find you on IG and hit you up. Yeah, do it, man. Or Facebook or email. Whatever's better for you. Contact at brianchambers.com if you want to email me. I say that because up until recently, I wasn't going on Instagram every day because Instagram's not interesting to me. Uh, it's probably the social media platform I like the least. Maybe I like Twitter less than because I'm not a shit talker. So it's like I don't have a reason to be on Twitter. Yeah, and I'm not famous, so not yet anyway. One day soon. But yeah, you can hit me up on it. Whatever is easier for you to hit me up on, go for it, man. I'll catch it. I'm trying to get in the habit of checking my IG daily because I've been getting podcast requests. I'm getting ready to do this book deal with a company where I'll be doing some voice acting for them. And it's like, damn, I need to start checking my Instagram because people be hitting me up like crazy. And it's just weird to me that Instagram is where people do that. I don't know. And that's just a narcissistic way of looking at it from my perspective. It's my narcissism says I hate Instagram. I can't believe all these other people like it. Oh man. But yeah, hit me up anytime, bro. Joker says, I play video games too much or focus on school and I don't talk to anyone. Non-verb, non-vet with mild PTSD. Okay, so you play video games, focus on school and don't talk. Maybe you're not very social. That's not necessarily a bad thing, right? I mean, I'm kind of like that. I'm social with my family and people that I'm really close to, and obviously you guys on the internet. But in real life, I have a neighbor that I talk to a lot because we get into some really great philosophical discussions. Um, he'll drop some science on me, man. He's a really smart guy. He also taught me how to choke people out, jujitsu style, because he used to be an MMA coach. I keep trying to get him back into coaching. Like, dude, please get back into coaching so I can hire you to make me into an even better assassin. And he just won't do it. I'm like, come on, bro, you gotta coach. It's like, what's his name? It's like Apollo Junior trying to get Rocky to train him. Like, come on, Rock, I need you, baby. Oh man, Lama Lu, Lama Lumasis says hi. I bet you an entire toilet paper roll that you don't see this and give me a shout out. You just lost the toilet paper roll, dog. You don't know who you're dealing with. God bless America with the damn skipping to the bottom of the page shit. I love your vids so much. They are so inspirational. Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Or Woo Man. I don't know what gender team you play for. Evan says, book deal, do tell. So yeah, I got hit up by a company that's building like a Netflix for books. And they want me to be one of the voices on there. So it's going to be freaking awesome. I just sent over my demos today. We're going to see how it goes. What am I live on? TikTok and here. 100% have PTSD from selling cable. Legit. Oh, okay. 22 M's says, my brothers pulled down your pants in the store today for... Okay. Some Americans are bored. Sorry, had to do something. I'm back, says Holly Long. Lost in Iraq says, I am Sparta. This guy benches 405. Actually, I used to bench. I can't remember where I topped out at. It was somewhere north of that. But yeah, I don't anymore because I want to be able to bend my elbows. Because I had a really bad tendonitis when I was lifting that heavy. My joints were not built for that type of load, man. I couldn't take it. Spartan's eating Pop-Tarts. Thanks for the imagery. Blade Master says, I'm finished my second book this week, moving on to my third book. There you go. Get after it, man. Holly says, I always have the same nightmare at the same time every year and don't know how to deal with it. Let's talk about the nightmare. Maybe you need to talk about it. Maybe you need to process it. Because I was once told by a famous psychotherapist that when you have a thought in your past that causes great emotion, it means you haven't fully processed it yet. So it's very possible that you're having this recurring nightmare because there's something that you have suppressed and you haven't dealt with it and integrated it into who you are. So let's talk about the nightmare. Let's get it out in the open. If it's not too personal. If it's too personal, then shoot me an email. We'll talk there. And if it's too personal to email to me, then talk about it with somebody that you trust. LL Cool says, I close my eyes and pretend Morpheus is teaching. Excellent. You think that's air you're breathing now? Tiana, my sweet, says, you're famous, Brian. Okay. I'm working on it. I don't know if I want to be like famous, though. Something about that, because the audiences that I've built over the years, I don't know. Like once I hit that threshold of like 1 million people engaging, because I have pretty high engagement in the things that I do, because I don't just build like, ha ha, look at this video he made, it's cute. Like I build stuff that's like, damn, that dude just broke it down. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I feel like I might do that Dave Chappelle move again though, where he had to fly to Africa. Like, all right, I'm out. Gotta lay low. Pocket Thought says, oh right, I did the dark triad test. Got 2.1 out of 4 on narcissism. Okay. Find it peculiar if it's correct. Okay, so what about that's peculiar to you? Because I think that's probably about what the average person scores, if I'm not mistaken. Tiana, my sweet, Mr. Fishburne's resemblance. I don't see that one. I get called a lot of people. I didn't start getting called Morpheus until I started shaving my hair. Uh, I know we both have the very egg-shaped face and short hair, but other than that, I don't really see the resemblance. But maybe it's not because I also remember because he's much older than me, right? But I remember watching him, like looking at movies when he was young, and then looking at me when I was young, and how we both kind of aged. I don't know. I don't see that one, but hey, it's all good. You got to see what you see. I would love book Netflix. Don't have Netflix. You're not missing anything terribly awesome on Netflix. I'll be real with you. I the documentaries that are on there I've enjoyed, but and The Witcher was cool, I guess. It was all right, but I could do without it if I didn't have it. I know what you're trying to do. I'm trying to free your mind. Have you heard of Chapter 31 for disabled vets? I don't think so. Tiana, my sweet, says the resemblance is in the demeanor. Okay, I can dig that. Hey, I love your content. Says Big Red. What's up, Big Red? Thank you. All right, I've almost broken Optimus Prime's arms off. It's taken a lot of work. This is a pretty durable toy, man. My hat's off to the toy makers. By the way, if you guys want one, oh, here's a shameless plug for that ass. A little bit of Bumblebee. Surprised he's as popular as he is. And this is not even the right Bumblebee. It's like Goldbug. Soundwave is my favorite. He's one of the least popular ones, which doesn't make any sense to me. Grimlock. And let's see. Megatron, my second favorite. Starscream, also the voice of Cobra Commander and G.I. Joe. And Optimus Prime, of course. And it's weird because the toys in the bag resemble the show. The toys on the cover resemble the real toys, which is weird. Like it's the actual toy that you open up looks like the TV show. The toy on the bag, so see, they look like they look on the show versus how the toy looks like the real toys. Hope you're having a blessed week, says Nicole Patel. I am. An amazing week. Thank you. Had good therapy sessions. Had good times with my kids since they're out of school. We're homeschooling and we get up in the morning, we do workouts together. I broke their little butts off today. I heard my son say I made him do, we were doing circuit training and then hill sprints. And we did it. And then we started doing football drills, but if they messed up the drill, they had to do hill sprints. We got so far gone that my oldest son was like, "No, please." I was like, "I'm doing my job. If that's the point he's at." Uh, Holly Long says, "But it's been 5 years. Why does it keep happening?" So, yeah, like I said, it's possible that you haven't properly processed the emotions from that event, and that's why your brain keeps revisiting it. It's because it's trying to process it and get you through it. So that's what I would look into with your therapist, is how can you get through processing the, and what is the underlying emotion behind the nightmare, right? Like what is it actually that's causing you the distress besides the dream? And like I said, if it's too personal to share here, don't. But just something to think about. Big Red says, love the first two Transformers movies and love the 80s show. So I watched, I think, the first Michael Bay Transformers movie and then wrote them off. I was like, this isn't what I grew up with. I'm out. Love the movie from the 80s, though. Pocket Thought says 23% have scored higher than that, but isn't 2.1 very high out of 4? Not necessarily. I mean, so for example, it's higher than me, but it doesn't mean that you're off the charts. Um, because that's 23% scored higher than you, but how many people scored the same, like in the same realm as you, and then how many people scored less, right? So, but the good news is if you feel like that's high, because that's really who it matters to is you. If you feel like that's high, there are some practical steps that you can take to adjust. Right, that's what I love about those tests is, personality is not a static, fixed thing that a lot of tests try to help people think. Like, here's your color test. You're an orange or a blue, or you're a, three whiskey two, or whatever these tests are trying to box you into these things, instead of just looking at you as a continuum and saying, here's where you are today. And then you can ask yourself, where would I like to be? Would I like to be less narcissistic? If the answer is yes, then what are the practical things associated with having less narcissism? Empathy, seeing things from other people's perspective, even if you disagree with them, and then consciously doing that over time. And you start to build tolerance and empathy in the things that kind of fly in the face of narcissism. Right? So don't let the score freak you out, even if you think it's high. There's things that you can do to adjust the behaviors associated with that. And that's why it's such a good test, because then you can look at, okay, I need to change this. Like when I scored really, really low in sentimentality on the hexacode test, but my whole family scores really high, I need to have some behavioral adjustments because in order to fit in my village, there's parts of my personality that are going to come across as somewhat cold. Now, at the same time, I can only be asked to change so much. So I ask them to have empathy for me. Like, listen, I don't care about birthdays and anniversaries and all this stuff that you guys get hyped about. I don't care. Like, it's just not in my DNA. I said, yeah, I want to celebrate with you, and yeah, I love you. But, like with my wife, I tell her all the time, I don't need Valentine's Day to take you out to dinner and tell you I love you. I tell you I love you every day. Every day I make it a point, several times a day usually, to express that I love this woman and then try to live it. To me, that's way more important than remembering, the fourth anniversary when we first bought matching phones. Like, but I do try to meet my family where they are. Like, at least respect the fact that my mom loves if I call and sing happy birthday to her. Right? And I sing it. I don't just, hey, happy birthday, mom. I do something embarrassing. Well, it's not embarrassing to me because I have no shame. But I do something that would typically be embarrassing to a normal person. She appreciates that, And I do the same thing for my grandmother. And one of the things I started doing that I noticed I wasn't doing because my grandmother brought it to my attention was, you don't check on me. And I'm like, dang, she's right. Because all my brothers do that and sisters. And it's like, oh, I do need to do that. Like, I'm thinking she's okay because she hasn't said something. And she's like, well, can you just check on me without me saying something? That would mean the world to me. And I'm like, you're right. I said, just understand, please understand that me not doing that is not trying to neglect you. It's just no news is good news. But if you need me, I'm coming with a whole army to take care of business. You know what I mean? Know that. If you do need me, I'm coming. I'll ride a horse, a bike. I'll run to your house, whatever it takes to get there and help you. All right. And she's like, you know what's funny? She's like, your dad was a lot like that. And I used to get mad at him because he was like that. He wouldn't think to ask me, but he would break his neck to help me if I asked. I said, yeah, it's just differences. All right. So, but I adjust those behaviors because that's the give and take of a relationship, right? And that's good. That's healthy. And then I've found myself becoming a little bit more sentimental through the process, which isn't a bad thing. So yeah, don't worry about reading it wrong. You're not permanently going to be stuck there about it. Leads me to believe that, hey, she's self-aware enough to know I probably need to make some adjustments. That's a wonderful place to be. The people I've tested that are just straight up max narcissist, it doesn't even cross their mind that they have an issue. They think they're right and they're entitled to whatever. And it's like, Jesus is the Lord of my life. This woman is crazy. Um, yeah. Like I remember telling one lady she had gone off about something. I was like, that's what Hitler did, right? She's like, that's cool if that's what it takes. All right, I'm out. Thanks for the memories, Jesus. You know what I mean? So you're good. Don't worry about it. Well, worry about it, but don't worry about it, but do something about it. You know that you want to make some adjustments. So now the test will make you hyper aware of opportunities to not be narcissistic. Now, what I don't want you to do is what most humans do and try to counterbalance and overcorrect, where you're going to try to be just Mother Teresa in every situation to your own detriment. That's just as bad. That is also narcissism because you're trying to undo your narcissism by killing yourself to help other people. That's not helpful to anybody if you're dead in the midst of trying to help others. Let's see. Pocket Thought says, I'm high on empathy. That's why it's weird for me. But I like what you said. Yeah, you can so am I, right? You can have crazy high empathy and high narcissism. They can to a degree that can coexist. Right? Because empathy is just the ability to sense what's going on around other people. The narcissism, that kind of protective survival mechanism, is going to do things like make you believe that you're entitled to special treatment. Your opinion matters more than others. You know, over focus on self. Doesn't mean that you can't have empathy. You can totally have empathy and be high in narcissism. Um, in fact, that woman that I'm talking about that's crazy off the charts narcissist, she's crazily empathetic for other people. Um, but she also is very entitled at the same time. So it's weird how that can kind of work. But doesn't mean that you don't have empathy. Now, it may mean that even though you have empathy, you still can behave in a way that's not very empathetic. Like for example, that person was never empathetic to people who disagreed with her ideology. She was crazily empathetic as long as they were in her camp. But the minute someone had an ideology that even slightly diverged from hers, oh, they're a bigot, they're sexist, they're homophobe. Like, damn, homeboy just mentioned Jesus, he's gonna be a homophobe. Like, word. You know what I mean? So you can be crazily empathetic and narcissistic. Those things can coexist depending on the circumstance. Yeah, it's definitely not a permanent state. There's tons of things that you can do to be more aware and just be more empathetic in your behaviors. The emoji dude says, I love you, bro. Man, I love you too, man. What's happening? YouTube's pretty quiet. How you doing, YouTube? I'd be looking at y'all too, but all the comments are over here on TikToks. Let's see. Roof Nate Dog. What's up, man? And I want you to know, it says, I hope everything in your life is going really good, brother, and I watch your videos all the time. Thank you, brother. And my phone's about to die, so we're going to have to cut this short. And I want you to know how much you're appreciated. Bless you, man. That really means a lot to me to hear that from people who watch my stuff, that you're getting something pleasant and beneficial out of it, man. That's why I do what I do. So bless you, man. I appreciate that. Hello. How you doing this evening? Says Ryan. Man, I'm okay. How you? Tiana, my sweet, says, by the way, I have bipolar disorder and there is some overlap with PTSD. For sure. For sure there can be. Zwinit says, thanks for your service. Uh, Bo Harkness says, are you woke? I don't know. Depends on how you define woke. Salty veterans in the house. What's up, dude? Small business owner after 4 years of homelessness. I love what you say. Oh, freaking outstanding, bro. Dr. Nikki, way to kill it, bro. That's a story, man. That'll help people a lot. I would love for you to start getting your story on TikTok and telling it. You know how many people you could help with that story, man, and give hope to people that don't believe in themselves? You like, dude, you was homeless and you turned it around. That's freaking killing it. Michael Jeffcoat says, "Do you play any video games?" Sometimes. Um, my PlayStation 4 right here had been unplugged since probably before Christmas. Uh, so I haven't really played. I've been playing like my PS Vita. Like I played Persona 4. Like I'll play like 10 minutes or 30 minutes at night before I go to bed. Cause after I do these live streams, I'm really fired up because I'm very extroverted. So I'll have something like just killing mindless zombies or reading story text in like a Persona game on my PlayStation Vita. But in terms of like playing something hardcore, like the last big game I played was The Outer Worlds, which was freaking fantastic. Like, please, game designers, can we get more of that and less of these 100-hour nonsense fests? Please. Like, I platinumed that game. I played it all kinds of different ways. I had a ball playing that joint, man. It was awesome. But yeah, recently I haven't really done much gaming at all. But collecting video games is one of my. I mean, you can see part of my collection right there. That's some of it. That's like PlayStation 4 and DS and 3DS games and Switch games, and then down here is my Xbox 360 shelf, and then down on the low, it's the old school NES and Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis stuff. And then I got a whole wall of my collectible stuff over this shoulder. I don't know if yeah, like the Fable. So the story behind the Fable 2 Collector's Edition. Uh, at Christmas and Thanksgiving, I started taking food to my guys that work at the GameStop here because I become friends with them, man. They're good dudes. And so I was bringing them. They had to work on Thanksgiving, which I thought was bullshit, and they had to work like late Christmas Eve. So we would bring food from my parents' house. And so one of the days I'm in the store, I think in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, my buddy that runs the store, he's a vet too, man. He's an awesome dude. He's like, "Oh, yo, stay right there. I got something for you." And he had heard a YouTube video I shot talking about how Fable 2 is one of my favorite Xbox 360 games. I love that game because it just gets so many play elements just right where most games fail. Even though those games were wildly criticized, I'm like, go jump off of something. This game is legit. I don't know what you guys are bitching about. But anyway, I was like, I'd love to have the collector's edition one day because that's one of my favorite games. I walk into GameStop with my kids. He's like, "Hey, yo, I got something for you. Hold tight." And he pulls it out. He hands it to me. I was like, "Well, how much is this?" He's like, "No, it ain't how much is this. That's yours." I was like, "Word?" He's like, "Yeah, we had a copy somewhere. We ain't selling it here. Go have fun." Like, what? You know what I mean? And then like I got the Call of Duty the Modern Warfare with the night vision goggles. My son wanted that for Christmas. And so I hit up my guy again. I said, "Do you guys have this?" He's like, "We don't, but I know a store that does." He literally left his store that morning and drove, however, God knows how far to go get it and bring it back to the store and call me. Like so that shelf is reserved for like special games to me. Like to the Two Worlds Collector's Edition still in the plastic with the Xbox Live sticker still on it. I don't know if that'll ever be a collector's item because most people hated that game. It's literally my favorite RPG of all time. There's nothing as enjoyable as Two Worlds to me. And so like that's there. Behind that I've got the Lunar 1 and 2 box sets for PlayStation 1 with like the cloth maps and stuff in it. I think I said silk maps in the video, but I don't think they're actually silk. And then I got a bunch of Japanese Famicom and Super Famicom games that I got from a guy locally who was selling part of his collection, and so he was selling them crazily cheap because he was a military vet too. He's like, "I don't want to price gouge, bro, because for real, I paid $1 for these joints, but I want to make a profit on them." And he's like, "I'm showing them to you with the price tag, so you know how much I paid." He was just super honest. So I bought, I think, $200 worth of games, and he just started throwing. He's here, take this, take. He's like, "I don't know what game this is." I was like, "Dude, this is ActRaiser. This is one of my favorite games of all time." He's like, "Take it." I'm like, "Son, I got the Japanese ActRaiser," and the Japanese ActRaiser is actually different. There's different stuff in this game that's not in the American one that didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but whatever. It's a great game, man. I love that freaking game. So yeah, I do play a game. I haven't played any of these games in a long time, but I do collect them. Jab Speaks is in the house. What up, Jab Speaks? Pocket Thought says, "Thank you for the input." Yeah, no worries. Borderline personality disorder. Sorry, I don't know why I said bipolar. My bad. And yes, thank you. How can we reach you via email? Contact at bryantchambers.com. So my name, the way it's spelled here, contact at my name minus the speaks, bryantchambers.com. You can connect with me via email. Pocket Thought says, I loved the long Final Fantasy games back when I was younger. Yeah, so the Final Fantasy games I liked was Final Fantasy 2 on Super Nintendo. Hold on, I got something for you. Oh yeah, my favorite Final Fantasy right there, bruh. Paid like $20 for this. I still want to get the box for it. One of my favorite games of all time. I hated 3. I did finish 1, but I didn't play through it all. Like I had it on my PSP, and somebody had a save at the end of the game, and I just played the end of the game. It was okay with it. So I want to go back and play 1 for real. I've played 2 and loved it, the like actual 2, because this is actually Final Fantasy 4. It just got released in the States as Final Fantasy 2. 1 was okay. 2 I loved. I just never went back and finished it. I hated 3. 4 is my favorite. 5 I've never played. 6 was okay. It released here as 3. 7 I didn't love. I know a lot of people think that's like the best game ever, and this whole remake's got everybody fired up. I don't really care. It's like I didn't like 7. I liked the materia system, but that was about it. 8 was quirky and weird, but the only reason I liked that is because I was friends with somebody at the PlayStation. I used to be a moderator on the PlayStation forums back before social media was a thing, and one of the guys that worked there was a Final Fantasy 8 fanatic, and he had created his own strategy guide for how to do the drawing properly so that you could just murk everybody in the game. So I did that. And so I enjoyed 8 to a degree. And like the Tetra card game was dope in that. 9 bored me to sleep. I never finished it. 10 was weird. Uh, 11, I don't play online games. And then 12 was my next favorite. It was like 2 and then 12 are my favorites. And then 13 was And then I never finished 13.2 and I never played 13.3. So did you ever beat Proto Babylon for Final Fantasy 4? I don't remember what it's been. I beat this game. The last time I finished this game, I think, was 1994. I have not beat it since I was a kid. I don't remember any of the characters in the game. So, but I don't like any of the like from the PlayStation 1 on, I stopped liking video games, let alone Final Fantasy games. 4 was amazing for the DS. That's childhood memories right there. I've been calling you Brian this whole time. Why you didn't tell me? Yeah, so a lot of people think my name is Brian T. Chambers, which, by the way, I'm thinking about changing my name to that because it sounds cool. It's Brian T. Chambers, baby. That sounds like a dope name. I might just need to start going by that. My name is Brian T. Chambers. Um, but yeah, no, the actual name is Brian. But now you guys got me thinking because Brian T. Chambers, because I heard somebody on TikTok on a video, it was my man Derek called me that. And I was like, that actually sounds better than my name. I'm gonna have to talk to my mom about this. Like, yo, mom, I'm changing my name, yo. Thank you. Ron Peach says, hello, Brian. I was here during the previous live stream. My question is, what is your advice for a 17-year-old that doesn't have the money for college and isn't sure what they like? So it's a great place to be because now you get to go try things that you think you like. Like, do you have any idea what you might like? Or more importantly, if you go back to that chart that I showed on the previous call, when I showed what were you raised around, what have you been doing the last 10 years? Obviously, you're 17, so, school is what you've been doing. What do strangers tell you you're good at? But this circle is the one that matters most to you when you're that young. It's really these two. What were you raised around? And what are you really, really curious about? Because if you have a ton of curiosity, you're going to be willing to try it and see if you dig it. Right? This is where I would live. Make a list of things that you're super curious about and then just try them. Go try them out. See if you like them. See if you like, I don't know, what are things you can do at 18 when you don't have a degree? Try retail. You might be good at sales, right? Try working like for a sports company, right? They're always looking for like referees. There's so many different things you can do as a young person. Start a personal brand. What are you curious about, like entertainment wise or information wise? Or are there books that you're into? Like, what's your hobbies? You could create a personal brand at 17. You don't have to have a degree for that. I think what we're going to find out in the next 20 years is all the kids that didn't have money for college are going to be the next wave of that's where the next wave of billionaires is going to come from, because they're going to have to be resourceful to figure out ways to earn money and make a living, and that resourcefulness is going to lead them down the road of success versus like their parents paying for them to go to school and then they just kind of have their path carved out for them and then they end up bored as hell by the time they're 26 years old and don't know what to do with their life. Like, I'd much rather you at 17 just ixnay the college crap and then go try stuff that you're interested in doing. Like um, getting certified so you could be a personal trainer, all kinds of different stuff you could try. You could try flipping toys, like I was just talking about. Maybe you're good at arbitrage. Maybe you're good at Amazon shipping. Try things. You're at a wonderful time where you could just try stuff and you don't have to go into incredible sums of debt in order to get an education that you may never use. Right. So don't be down because you can't go to college. It's not that serious, especially not in 2020. I mean, college is basically a hustle at this point, unless you're doing something that requires a degree, like being a doctor. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Stop playing after seeing X2. I did enjoy X2 a little bit. Uh, I just enjoyed the gameplay. I don't remember anything about the story. I like the job switching though. Oh wow, that's cool, says Michael Jeff Code. NCR Life 2020 says he's a secret boss who was on the moon, had 400,000 or is that 4 million HP. I don't remember if I fought this any secret bosses in that game. And was he in the original game or was he in like the DS remake? Because if it was in the DS remake, then no. Uh, iFlame says Beast of a Game. Michael Jeffcoat says, "What's your favorite movie?" Gladiator, followed by The Matrix, followed by Idiocracy, followed by Tron, followed by Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Those are my top 5 films. I did some things Gary Vee said, and now I'm gaining some attention. Excellent, man. Great job. Wild Muffins in the house. What up? Thanks for the follow. The real Mr. Brooks says, "What's up, everybody? Favorite superhero?" I don't really get into the superhero stuff, man. It's not my jam. I mean, Wolverine, I guess, is the one I'd pick, but he's not much of a hero. Like, he's a very angry asshole that has every reason to be angry, which is why I relate to him. Uh, they completely destroyed Yuna's character, butchered it, killed. So I hated Yuna in 10 anyway, so I didn't care. I thought Yuna's character was the worst. Ugh. Her character was just not likable to me. Hua, U.S. Army all the way. Sappers lead the way. Right on, Tiger. Or Tigger, excuse me. Tigger Lemura. Yeah, I did not like I'm trying to think, did I like any of the characters in 10? Maybe Lulu. Maybe Waka when he wasn't being all, let's do it for the team. Yeah. He was a freaking weird cheerleader. I don't like most of the characters in Final Fantasy though, so that's not saying much. I mean, if I had to pick a favorite Final Fantasy character, it would be Zack, hands down, from Crisis Core. Like I don't even think it's close. And then maybe Cecil or Cecil, however you pronounce it, after him. And then after that, just throw whoever you want in there. I don't care. But I didn't like any of that. I just 10's story was stupid, and the villain sucked. I just wasn't into it. Have I played 15? Yes. 15 is right at the bottom with Final Fantasy 3. I hated that game. Ugh. God, that game was so freaking terrible. It was like Japan just got left behind in the last 2 generations of games. They just lost their touch, and they're stuck in trying to do things the way it worked back. And I think honestly, Japan won harder than they should have, because games like Final Fantasy VII and the like, to me, just weren't. They weren't amazing games. They were tedious. They were long. They were slow because they were running on discs. I just think they hit at a time where kids, more and more people were starting to play video games, and that's what you. I mean, you play what you have access to, right? And most people playing Ninja Gaiden today would lose. Like, this game's terrible. It's hard for no reason. But when I was growing up, that was the ish, right? And I think that's the same thing that happened with that next generation of kids, where it's just like Final Fantasy VII is the best RPG ever made. Like, yeah, all right, I'll just go play Two Worlds. iFlame says Two Worlds is a great game. Trade skills is good. Is good skills to have. Yes. Wrong Peach says, to be honest, I'm thinking about joining the military. Okay, that's another option. Broken Super says Tron, huh? I didn't know that. Is is it the Nerdivision or something specific you like? What is Nerdivision? No, I just like the premise of the story in Tron, man. The story in the Tron saga is freaking amazing. And I love the characters. I mean, Jeff Bridges just rocks. I love that dude, man. He's amazing. Let's see. My Civi friends get a great view on how we operate. That's good, man. NCR Life says, I love Can from Final Fantasy IV. Cool. Are you listening to anything on Audible? I have some audiobook points to use. I'm not listening to anything on Audible right now. I prefer to read my books. I will listen to books every once in a while, but I like to read and highlight and take notes sometimes, and stuff like that. So right now I'm just reading physical books. But if you're looking for a specific book, let me know what you're into. I can give you a suggestion. NCR Life says same with Dark. Yeah, I hated Dark Souls too. I don't like the Souls games. I don't like the Souls likes. I hate trial and error. And that's one of the things I hate about Final Fantasy. Like, Final Fantasy is the worst series other than maybe Dragon Quest, sorry, with status ailments. Like, why in 2020 are we still getting poisoned? Have they not figured out? They've been fighting these monsters for 250,000 years. Has nobody figured out how to inoculate themselves against the monster that gives you poison? Like, Jesus Christ. And then it's just managing, let me get the thing that gets rid of poison, and this is just eating up time. It's ridiculous, man. Yeah, I don't I don't get it. But that's why I only like two Final Fantasy games. Like the one that lets you heal poison on autopilot so I don't have to screw with it, and the one that's so simple that it's just much easier to play and get into. Anish Podar says, "Hey Bryant, just saw you were live. Been a while since I checked out your content. Yeah, man, good to see you. Absolutely. But yeah, I hate trial and error. So Dark Souls, everyone's like, oh, you'll love it. No, I won't. Because the whole purpose of the game is getting your ass whooped so you learn how to fight. Like, would you want to learn how to win a real fight in real life by going outside and having to fight Mike Tyson? Is that how you live your life? Like, you're going to go fight Mike Tyson, and your training is going to be the fight. Like, you're just going to show up on pay-per-view, and it's like, all right, Mike, let's get it. Bow! Just, is that how you love that? That's fun to you? Getting an ass beating, and then you get back up, bow! Just, and then you got a concussion. Mike, knocks, gives somebody an aneurysm. Like, I don't understand how that's fun to people. I don't get it, but I don't have to get it. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It just doesn't compute to me that you want to take an ass whooping 17 times to learn how to not get an ass whooping. I would rather train for 70 years. Like, if I didn't, I'm Wolverine, I don't age. If I'm fighting Mike Tyson, I'm training 70 years. I'm learning every technique known to man so that I can fight Mike Tyson in the future and at least survive the fight, if not win. I'm not going to learn how to fight by fighting. What warrior does that? Goes to war without any training and takes it, gets shot a bunch of times to learn you should have ducked. This is the stupidest concept on the planet to me, and people eat that nonsense up. It's like I'm so out of touch with modern video games that it's not even funny. I have become the get off. We actually had a get off my lawn guy when I was growing up. We called him Scratch Car because we'd be out in the streets playing. He'd always come out yelling, "Don't you scratch my car! I know one of y'all scratched my car." And so we used to call him Mr. Scratch Car. I've become him. I saw kids. I was coming back from Walgreens. I had to get some nasal saline, for my sinuses and allergies and stuff. And I was coming back from Walgreens, and these kids were doing donuts on their bikes on the main road, and I'm screaming, "You bastard ass children! Where are your parents?" I was like, I've become Scratch Car. And I'm the same way with video games. I don't understand what this generation of video game fans find fun. It doesn't make sense to me that learning how to fight by getting your ass whooped is fun. It doesn't compute to me. I don't know. But a lot of people love it, and it's fine. And that's the way it should be. Like, the old people like me should just stick to playing Final Fantasy 2 and Super Mario Brothers and ActRaiser and Musha on the Genesis. We should just stick to playing old people stuff. Every once in a while, a game designer will be like, you know what, we should make something for the old guys because they've had a rough go. They've had to sit through, 100-hour games where 30 of the hours are them watching movies instead of playing the damn game. Let's make Nier Automata. That'll get the old guys back in, and then bam, I'm back in the game, baby. Best game I've played in 25 years. But I don't understand this generation of gamers. Anybody in the comments before my phone dies, let me understand how in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior and Lord of Latter-day Saints, it's fun for you to play a game where you have to drink water, find and drink water, eat food, carry a coat for when it gets cold or build a fire, and you have to manage 4 health bars. Explain to me how that's not busy work and not tedious and it doesn't feel like a job instead of playing a game. I will wait for the person who can answer that nonsense. Somebody, let's get it. Let's hear the expert analysis on how these survival games are fun where I have to make sure I find enough blueberries so we don't starve to death. See, I wasn't going to get my blood pressure up tonight. I'm trying to stay cool. I'm trying to keep my cool. I don't understand how this stuff works. Sounds like a great way to learn how to survive in real. Yeah, great. Then give me that game when, like, a month before the zombie apocalypse breaks out. I don't get it, man. Nier Automata was from Jesus Christ. Like, thank God there's still a developer out there that understands how to make an effing game. And not this nonsense. I know Broken Soup has got to be yelling at me on YouTube by now because I know he loves the Souls games. And he says, it's a puzzle game, bro. You don't like puzzles. That's true. That's true. But I do love Portal because it's a game that is built as a puzzle game, not as an action game with RPG elements, but it's really a puzzle game. Like, I don't mind solving, and the puzzles in Portal are practical, right? Like, you can understand how physics and gravity work to say, okay, I should probably try putting one up there, and then yeah, there is some trial and error, but the trial and error isn't utter failure and then, studying your utter failure 47 times until you get it right. It's, oh, I did the right thing. I failed in the execution. Like, I could even accept Dark Souls if it taught you how to beat a monster and then just made it really hard. Just made it hard to win. Not I have to lose 20 times and each time I learn the next piece of the puzzle. Like, those of you that find that fun, it does not compute anywhere near the realm of the Milky Way galaxy to me. I don't know if there's something that happened to you as a child and you just like torturing yourself. I don't get it. I don't understand it, man, but that's why. Listen, let me explain something, y'all. This is us right here, bruh. You better give me my game, ho. You don't know me. Sorry. I get mad with technology. This is what we're going to play from now on. ActRaiser. You you be you're God and you put yourself into a human body. You kill the monsters. Game. That's it. That's all it is, man. You kill the monsters. Game. We don't need to do all this figuring stuff out. Just kill the monsters. Game. Pocket Thought says that's why I usually didn't kill the last boss, but my brother is adamant in beating those bosses. Did I play Resident? I never played Resident Evil. But it all, I tried to play the original one on the horrible tank controls, and then I was like, nope, no. I've been the get off my lawn gamer since the PlayStation One. PlayStation One generation is what made me stop playing video games when I was young, and then I came back into it after the army because I needed something. I needed something. Sounds like Ark. Sounds like a great. Yeah. Well, thank you for letting me know to never play Ark. It's realistic, but it's not though. It's not realistic. Like, well, okay, it's realistic, but okay. No, you know what, Pocket Thoughts? You're right. It's realistic. So here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna brush your teeth in games. Because you don't brush your teeth are gonna rot. And you can't eat the blueberries. You're also gonna take showers in games, and you're gonna wash your hands every time you finish a mission. Otherwise, you're gonna get dysentery like Oregon Trail and die. Like, I don't understand the realism argument because so many other things are so blatantly fake that we just justify tedium that developers put in there because they ran out of ideas and they lack originality and they have to get a game out. And we just justify, oh, that's real. Okay, so is wiping my ass. Let's make wiping ass. Let's get the wiping ass algorithm in here. Let's go. Come on. Wiping ass algorithm team. You're in. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm teasing you, and I'm being funny, but it's like I don't play video games to be real. It's real life that I'm running away from when I play video. And that's the thing I don't understand about this younger generation. Like, we played video games specifically. Like, there was a game called Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. You're beating up dinosaurs and driving in Cadillacs. Like, we're playing that specifically because it's not real and it's fun. And now games are just work. Oh, sorry. I'm on my soapbox. I need to shut up. That's why I usually do. Okay, I've read that one already. He'd be so mad I quit. Oh, I quit on the last boss in Final Fantasy 3. Not 6, but 3. I just like, you know what? I don't need to see the ending. I don't care. I'm out. My brother wants to design that game where you'll die off poisoning if you just if you don't wash your hands. Yeah, tell your brother whatever company he goes to work for games for and designing games, let me know. I'm never buying a game they produce. Because I'm telling you, it's this generation of designers. They are insane. They don't make good games. They make great movies. Well, no, they don't even make great movies half the time. I don't know what they make, but they're not games anymore. Pocket Thought says you crack me up, but I get your point of view. Yeah, and by the way, I do respect. Like, me and Suba argue about this all the time. Like, I get it. I could see how this would be the act of discovery could be fun to somebody. But for me, usually I have such little time, and my joy in the game comes from making progress. And if I'm just taking, one of my boys said it best on Twitter. He was just like, I can't play Dark Souls because the reward for the pain isn't high enough, and my time is very limited. So I don't want to take 47 ass whoopings and win 3 fights, and then have to turn off the machine and go. Like, if I could sit here for 6 hours and play this nonsense, that might be okay, you know. But it is certainly not a game for people who are time strapped. NCR says, I don't know. Ever since I got out of the army myself, I mod my Fallout 4 to where it's so real. I could dig that. I mod it so it's the opposite of real. Like, I take out fall damage. I take away that stupid ass carry weight. Like, you could walk with the stuff you're carrying under the carry weight. Get out of here. You know, that's the stuff that I hate in those games. But I don't think Bethesda's made a great game since Jesus, Fallout New Vegas, and they didn't even make that one. Design a game where you fight people for TP. I am planning to either buy and repurpose or just build my own game studio. That's one of the businesses I plan to have in the distant future. Is it like a boutique game designer company, game developer, where we can publish like smaller scale games for people who just want to have fun and don't want to listen to this dumbass story that's 40 hours long. We just want to fight the dinosaurs, run over them with Cadillacs, and go back to sleep. Like I miss those days so much of where the game was just fun. And then you just played it 20 times. The replay value was you just beat up more dinosaurs. Now the freaking gamers need stories, and I had a developer yell at me for that video I did on TikTok with the people in the electric chair room. He's like, "We have to tell these stories because we have to keep you interested." You don't have to keep me interested. You can make a 30-minute game, and if it's dope, I'll pay $60 for it because I don't care. If I'm having fun, I'll just play it a bunch of times. But most games are way longer than they are fun. April Ray said, "Oh no, I read that one. Call it World War Walmart." Yeah, Fallout New Vegas was dope. Um, there's certain realism effects that I don't mind in games. Like if you take a headshot, that should be the end of the game. That's another thing I hated about Fallout. That's something in Fallout that I wish was more real. Like I remember in Fallout 4 shooting a mini nuke at a mutant and it didn't kill him. I'm like, this is a nuclear explosion, bruh. Do you really mean to tell me that a dice roll kept this guy from dying? Come on, bruh. There should be an algorithm override that says, uh, was enemy hit? Yes. Where? In the head. With what weapon? Mini nuke. Yeah, he's dead. Not he's still chasing you. You know what I mean? Like that type of realism, I agree. Like certain things, and it's not even realism that I'm looking for. It's practicality. That's all I ask. I don't need realism, but I don't mind practicality. Because honestly, I played Outward, and I loved that game, and it had drinking water and that stuff in it, but it was more one, you had ample opportunity to resupply and not have to like go on these grand adventures to find food. Like you always had something to kill or water, a clean water source nearby where you never ran out of that stuff. So yeah, you had to manage multiple life bars, but it wasn't such an arduous task that it felt tedious. Dizzy Dean says my buddies all want storylines, but yeah, and that's what I mean. Like those of you that grew up like during PlayStation One and Metal Gear Solid, it was very much. And I just lost TikTok, so I'll talk to YouTube now. It was very much, it was a story-driven game. I grew up with the original Metal Gear. It wasn't much story. It was just blowing up helicopters and Metal Gear robots and grenade launching guys. That was pretty much the gist of the game. And there wasn't as much having to sneak, like you could shoot your way out of trouble. That's not about survival mechanics, by the way. I got my comment in before the question. Yeah, no, I know. I know. You and I have had this discussion many times, Suba. And yeah, survival games do have a lot of busy work. I agree. And that's why I don't play them. I mean, some people enjoy it. Like I said, I don't need to understand it. I'm just making it clear that I don't understand it. Uh, you are not wired for losing. Bloodborne requires you to lose. Well, no, I can lose. I just don't want my loss to be based upon ignorance. Right? I don't want my loss to be because I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I can definitely lose. If I lose fair and square, all in, right? All in. But I don't want to lose just because the game's not telling me what I'm supposed to do. Like apparently I'm supposed to be this mystical warrior that doesn't know how to do shit. It's almost like I remember playing Ghost Recon back on the Xbox 360. And there was this one scene where you come out. First of all, I don't know why we were running in the open, but whatever. This is America's most elite force runs in the wide open where everybody can see him and shoot at him. But then a helicopter shows up. And so I run and take cover, but my stupid ass teammates just stand there and stare at the helicopter. Like, I'm going to lose this fight because I'm not telling special forces trained soldiers to take cover when a helicopter shows up shooting at them. You see what I mean? Like, that loss pisses me off because it's wasting my time. I don't mind taking the L if it's like the people that like I think it's the same thing that makes people like Mega Man that I don't like. Like, I have to, this weapon doesn't work. Switch to the other one. All right, try this one. Nope, switch. Like, I don't want to lose that way. I want to lose knowing what I'm supposed to do and just failing to execute. I can lose all day. I just want the loss to be practical. And I want the loss to be enjoyable. Like, man, I know what I was supposed to do. Like the fight, I'll give you an example of losing that was frustrating, but in a good way. Was God of War when I was fighting the last Valkyrie. That fight is hard, especially when you're playing on gangster ass difficulty like I was, trying to get all the trophies right. That fight is incredibly difficult. But you're not losing because you don't know what to do. You're losing because she's whooping your ass. And you're just not good enough at doing the thing you're supposed that it makes it very clear you're supposed to do. And you learn that because the game builds you into those more difficult fights step by step by fighting lesser monsters and stuff. But it's not like I'm completely in the dark and I lost 20 times to her, but it wasn't because I didn't know what to do. It's because literally I wasn't fast enough doing it. And I'll take that L every day. And I cussed and I bitched and I whined, but I still came back because I was having a good time. Like if I'm just losing because I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here, and then even furthermore with like I remember playing Dark Souls 3, one of the first bosses in that game. It's like even I knew what to do and just still couldn't do it because some of it is based upon the luck of when it lands and does the thing, and it's just like I'm out. I don't have the energy for this nonsense, man. So yeah, I could take the L, but damn, I'm not gonna take a L to Mike Tyson because I'm gonna jump in the ring with him having never fought before. And you're right. I don't necessarily like to lose, but I'm okay to take a L if it's I should be taking a L. I love Portal's little instructional videos. They're hilarious. Yeah. Soba says the first playthrough is the trial. The real game starts in New Game Plus and further. Once you pass the test of the first playthrough, you can realize how easy the game can be. Yeah. And that's for someone that has way more time than me to play a game like that. And it's what my buddy said really rings true there. The reward you get for the little victories is destroyed by the ass whippings that you take. And it's like the joy I'm getting from this small victory is not great enough to make me want to keep playing to get that good at it. It's just not fun. So, and I don't have a lot of time, which is another probably the most significant factor in me not wanting to play those games is the fact that I don't have the time to sit here and get great. Like you were trying to coach me through that boss fight in Bloodborne, and I'm like, man, no, this is not fun. Like even with you trying to tell me what to do, it's just the fights were so cheap. The way it was like you have to hit the button at exactly the right time, and it was just like, I'm done. I'm going back to play Near Automata. Um, Andrew Manboard says Sims is built on tedium. Yeah, that's true. Suba says you should like Dark Souls. It's literally meant to harken back to the days when games had no save points and all the easy crap games give these days. You should try Kid Icarus yet. Same game. Yeah, I don't think I played Kid Icarus as a kid. But yeah, I've played the Souls games too. I didn't like them. Anish says, Brian, I think that realism in games helps increase the immersion somewhat. I hear that a lot, and I think that may be marketing speak that the newer generation has just bought into. I don't buy it because I can tell you right now what the games are calling realism, like especially like combat games. There's nothing real about them. Like no matter how much we're gonna add windage, we're gonna add like ballistics to the guns. It's like nobody fights like this. This isn't how this works. It's never gonna be a team of four guys fighting the entire Taliban. Like it's just ridiculous, man. However, I agree that many developers use that and I think developers started doing that marketing speak at E3 and places like that was like, look at the realism and the immersion. Like immersion, I'm gonna tell you right now, man. Metroid, the original Metroid, immerses me better than almost every modern video game I've ever played. And it's completely a 2D side-scrolling shooter, adventure game, exploration. And what immerses me is the music, the sounds, and the loneliness of this lone soldier being in here trying to fight off basically the hordes of hell. That game to me is more immersive than almost every game. Now, there are exceptions to that rule. Shenmue is a wildly immersive game. But what makes that game immersive is not the sense of combative realism or that I have to go eat or take showers and sleep. What makes it immersive is like what really makes games more immersive than anything else is sound. More than anything, more than visuals. And because psychologically we are wired to hear and to tune into what we're hearing. um, in some context, even more than what we're seeing. Like the spoken word is, we are wired to pay attention to that because humans have survived by passing down stories. It's baked into who we are, and so sound is so vitally important. And I think you're right. For some newer players, that level of realism, but I think it's more what you're exposed to, right? Because if someone didn't grow up having to learn how to get immersed in playing Bruce Lee on Commodore 64 by picturing myself as this little sprite on screen beating up a green sumo wrestler and a ninja, but the music and the sounds of the traps, and when you have to learn how to use your imagination and immerse yourself, turning up realism doesn't necessarily affect me as much. But if you grew up with something, let's say like Metal Gear Solid, where the story and the exposition is what hooked you, then that does make a lot of sense. Andrew says, "Are there any independent titles you would recommend, like independent games? What type of games do you like? Let's start there. What did you think of Katamari Damacy? I loved it. I only played the first one though, and it got boring pretty quick, but I did like what I played of it. Onimusha is one of iFlame's favorite. I played the first Onimusha. I didn't like the tank controls, but I did somewhat enjoy the game. I finished that game actually. I played that one when I was in the army." April says, crossed over from TikTok. Hey April, good to see you. Yeah, sorry, my phone died. Broken Suba says, haha. iFlame says, hell of a good game. Anish says, no, what I mean by realism is realistic physics, sharp graphics, etc. Not grinding mechanics, but yeah, the Metroid example shows that there are other ways to. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Physics, yeah, I could buy that. I could buy, and I think that's part of what immerses one into a game like Shenmue is the nature, the hearing the birds chirping when you come out of your house. Like that's what I love about, like, the subtle music playing in the background that's not overpowering, but then hearing the birds, hearing other animals off in the distance, right? And just hearing the chatter of people in town. That is because Shenmue is a horrible video game, but it's such a great, let's call it, immersion simulator, right? It's amazing for that. And I loved that. I hated playing the game. I uh I don't even know how I beat it as a young guy because I just recently beat it last year on PlayStation 4. And I honestly don't know how I did it because those battles effing suck. The combat in that game's so terrible. And they did nothing to improve it from what I can remember from the Dreamcast. Honey says, and that's an interesting point you make about sound being the main component of immersion. Yeah, so for me, absolutely. Maybe for some people, not so much, but I believe sound is the number one thing that immerses people, because it's the only thing in a game. Because think about it like this: there is no video game that provides a realistic visualization. Our brains kind of imprint ourselves onto the characters we're playing, but at no point do we feel like we're in the world, like a real world. But sound can be mimicked in a video game and make it sound like it's a real place. Visually, there's some cognitive dissonance because it still looks like I'm watching a cartoon of myself. If like I'm playing Ghost Recon Wildlands, my favorite shooter, right? It still doesn't feel real. Fights don't happen like this. I can't magically fly a helicopter just because I'm awesome. You know what I mean? So all that stuff's kind of fake. Um, Even though like headshots kill people and the physics like that are real, so to speak. But the sounds in that game are very, very close to what they sound like in real life. And that's where I think the connection comes from. So Shenmue was the first game that really gave me something like that. And it was like, yo, I feel like I'm in Dobuita, even though it's clearly, this horribly graphical virtual version of real life. But I feel like I'm there. And to me, it was the sound, like the opening of the doors, just the subtlety of sound in that game was so well engineered that I'm there. Like I could play through a game that I hate playing just to get a taste of that world, man. Something to be said for that. iFlame says that's why I love racing games. Yeah, for sure, man. I love the combat racing games more so than just flat out racing. Like one of my favorite games I want to recollect is Rock and Roll Racing on Super Nintendo. I love that game. It's basically RC Pro Am to old rock and roll music, which is pretty cool. Suba says, "Hey, immersion. That's why I like Metroid Prime so much. Haha, trying to pull all of your strings." So I can't hate on Metroid Prime. I've only played Metroid Prime for like the first 5 minutes and just turned it off because I wasn't interested. But I can't judge that game because I didn't really give it a fair shake. When it came out, I was frustrated because I was still stuck in my childhood and I wanted to play Metroid, not this newfangled 3D version of Metroid. But I own the Metroid Prime trilogy on the Wii. I have my Wii U sitting. Uh, it was here somewhere. Did my kids? Oh no, my Wii U's right here. I do plan to play Metroid Prime trilogy at some point, just to like to. Everyone talks about how amazing that game is, and it's like I need to give it a fair shake. If Metroid is my favorite game of all time, or was, maybe Nier Automata takes that slot. Maybe even Axiom Verge bumps it out of the number two slot. Although I started playing Axiom Verge again on the PS Vita, and something about the controls are not as tight as playing it on the PlayStation. Um, either way, like if Metroid's going to be one of my favorite games, I think it deserves me giving the 3D version of it a real shot, not just playing it for 5 minutes and hating the controls of having to hold a nunchuck and all this nonsense. Um, I think it deserves me giving it a shot, and I'm going to do that at some point. You ever check out the Game Boy Advance Bruce Lee I told you about? I did. I watched some video of it. It looks dope. It looks supremely dope, man. I actually added it to my collection list to pick up. Gemini Rising says, "Hello, hello. Good to see you." iFlame says, "Sound is everything for me." Anish says, "Have you ever played the Silent Hill games? I'm asking because the sound in those games really helps create tense atmosphere, and the original soundtrack is just beautiful." So I played. I think I rented the original Silent Hill, like back when it first came out, and I had just bought a PlayStation from Funco Land at the time before it all became GameStop. I don't remember much about it. I didn't finish it. I don't remember a lot about it, but I've heard a lot of great things, so maybe that's another series. But again, I think it was those games all have those tank controls that I just couldn't get. I could not wrap my head around the tank controls on you know Japanese 3D games. But maybe I need to go back and give it a because do the remakes fix the controls? Because if that's the case, I might be able to play them. iFlame says, "Hell yeah, Twisted Metal." I only played the first Twisted Metal a couple of times. I sucked at it too, so I don't remember loving it, but that's because I was terrible. Um, and I didn't play like any of the other ones, so I don't know anything about them. I do remember I tried to play, I think, the ice cream truck though, or the clown truck or whatever. It's like, of course we're playing as that guy. Why wouldn't we be? iFlame says old school Gran Turismo was one of the. So I just bought old school Gran Turismo for the PlayStation 1 when I was in Wisconsin last year. And I have not played it yet. I've never played it. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to firing that up to seeing what it's all about. All right, friends, it's midnight. So I think this young man's about to take it to the bed, sleep, and lay it down. Go lay down and cuddle next to my beautiful wife. Anish says, "Yep, SH had pretty awkward tank control." Silent Hill, okay. I mainly love them for the stories and the symbolism. I might. Let's see. Rydera says, "Have you played Shadow of the Colossus?" I rented it back in the day and hated it, but I just re-downloaded it on PlayStation Plus the other day. I'm gonna give it another shot. Because it's another one of those puzzly type games, and I don't like those puzzle adventures. But I'm gonna give it another shot just to see what I think. Sweet Tooth was the name of the clown. Yes. Yeah, I played as Sweet Tooth. And that's probably why the game was hard, because I imagine driving an ice cream truck. It's not particularly easy with guns on it. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna fire up Gran Turismo at some point and give it a shot. Because it was, I don't even remember what I paid for it. I was collecting, and he had a bunch of collector's items, or items that I wanted to collect. Let's say it that way. They weren't necessarily collector's items, but they were games I wanted that he had for my collection. Yes, they made an HD collection, but they didn't change the controls. Okay. Well, I'm sure if they're as amazing as you guys say, I can, because I finished Onimusha like that, so I might be able to figure it out. All right, I'm going to bed, y'all. Y'all are some great human beings. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Hopefully, you got something good out of the talk tonight. Appreciate the video game talk too, man. That was fun. Um, Kirby All Stars is a fun ass game too. Okay, might have to check out the old Kirby games, man. I'm gonna try to stream as much as possible over the next couple days. I know a lot of you guys are dealing with whatever the fallout is from Corona Land. So the reason why I've been getting on live streams more is I know there's people out there that need help, maybe need some coaching, maybe need some encouragement. So I've been trying to do that as much as I can. So uh, I'll usually stream on TikTok in the morning during my warm up for my workout with my kids, and then I'll come on YouTube later in the day after I help my kids do all their schoolwork and whatnot that they have to do here at home. So yeah, man, let's plan to hang out. If you have questions for me related to life strategy or business strategy, bring them. There's no question off the table. I may not have answers to all of your questions, but I'll do the best that I can. And man, I love you guys, man. Stay strong, stay safe, and I'll see you sometime tomorrow. Peace.